Namaskar. We are having conversations with Dr. Bhaskara Rao on the theme of Rejuvenating our Republic, Mission 2050. Our country will be 100 years in the year 2050. It's actually a momentous year for any country on this planet to be a republic. But it's also an important time to reflect and to see how and what we can do to rejuvenate our republic since it started till the time we reach its 100th year. Towards this, we are having conversations with Dr. Bhaskara Rao on various themes that he has identified on rejuvenating the republic. Dr. Bhaskara Rao is an eminent social scientist and author with more than 50 years of experience in studying and understanding various governance issues in our country, and also an expert on the electoral systems in our country. This is the second conversation we are having with the title of this conversation is We the People, in this whole 5-part series of conversations that we are having with Dr. Bhaskara Rao. We all know that the Constitution starts with the words, we the people. It's not just a few words, it's an idea. And how the idea was implemented by later on, especially to a complex and very diverse country like ours, was a challenge. But I think we came up with a system that we find an electoral system at various levels, starting from the village to the Gram Panchayat to assemblies to the nation, to select leaders who represent us. And that's how we the people are being governed by the people, for the people, with the people. So let's start this conversation with Dr. Bhaskara Rao to understand how did this idea of we the people represented currently by the system that we have adopted. Dr. Rao, welcome. Can we start the conversation today with trying to understand, is our government representative of the people as implied by the idea given in the Constitution, we the people?
This is a very, as you very rightly said, is a very complex and challenging task that the Constitution has envisioned, that it has to be the government that the republic is going to have has to be people's government, which means selected, chosen by the people of the India. That's why we the people of India is how our Constitution starts with. It's not just merely the number, the spirit, as you rightly said, the idea is a great idea. In fact, if you really look at how they evolved, how they started, it is amazing. Now, equally amazing is how we went about implementing this task of a representative form of government. How we evolved it is for a country of this size, magnitude, diversities being what they are. So, this is a republic can't be really regenerated without ensuring that it is the people's representation is really at work, or it's obvious. That's what this episode, as you rightly said in your introduction, has to be and is what we are going to discuss. Now, to start with, the Constitution does not provide in a true democratic way how we should go about. It leaves it to the people, to the government of that time to evolve a method and methodology. In that process, it does not prescribe that the political parties should be, in fact, the Constitution does not mention political parties or any role for them. It is amazing that our first chief electoral, the Constitution provides for an independent authority. Our Constitution has provided for a independent authority to go about for a representative form of government, which means an electoral system. It does not even prescribe what kind of system that we should have, because it left it to the government of that time to evolve its own methodology. Now, for that, the independent authority, which is what Election Commission of India, has come into being as an independent body. It's very important to underline as an independent body. Now, I must give you a small little anecdote. Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister, was wondering how to have an independent body. Who will be able to assert that independence? So he asked the Dr. B.C. Roy, the long-standing Chief Minister of West Bengal of that time, to suggest an officer. And B.C. Roy, out of his own personal experience in West Bengal, the Chief Secretary of West Bengal was Sukumar Sen. Dr. Sukumar Sen, he said, this man will be able to deliver and stand up to independence that you are looking for, he told to Jawaharlal Nehru. Jawaharlal Nehru called him and said, look, we must have as a republic earliest election for the country, so that the world will take cognizance of arrival of a new power in the global scene. So thereupon, the Sukumar Sen was aghast how to go about, because we don't have a voter list, we don't know who is the voter, how to identify candidates, what should be the designation or qualification of a candidate, and what electoral system we should have. It should be a simple majority, or should it be a representative form? What kind of representative form it is? All these things he has to avoid. So, in no time, after he assumed in 1951, he was able to conduct the first election. Now, it is an amazing story of how he went about, firstly, identifying who the voter is, what should be the qualification to be a candidate. And the problem at that time was that we are illiteracy in the country. So when you say that the name of a person, the people will not be able to identify. So he has come up with a symbol system. And then he had a problem of how to get the candidates. So that's how he went to the political parties. Until that time, there was no reference or cognizance of political parties as with any role in this paradigm. So he requested the political parties, authorized them to come up with candidates, a list of candidates with a symbol. With all their candidates will have a common symbol. That's how they are out. Then came up with the idea of what is the common ground rules. So he came up with the idea of code of conduct. And he called all the political parties and he said, we must evolve a code of conduct, how the candidates and the parties as well should stick to certain rules in terms of that I will not accuse or I will limit to this, like that. There are certain rules, they have all evolved it. So that's how it's called the code of conduct. Then came in terms of how much money they could spend. These methods and methodologies were evolved in consultation with the political parties, and of course with the political parties includes the ruling party as well. So that's how we were able to go and conduct the election within 1 year.
Sir, that's a fascinating story and a great challenge that Mr. Sukumar was able to do elections within 1 year. Absolutely fascinating, and to know that where we started and where we came and how we evolved in the whole process of developing a framework to capture the idea of we the people. But my primary question still remains that after so many years of almost 75 years as a republic, do you think we have sufficient system to represent this concept of we the people in the current system of elections that we have?
Well, Dr. Vasanthi, that is the dilemma. That is whether we have evolved a representative form of government. Now we have completed 17 general elections and as many assembly elections most states of India have already in the last 70 and odd years. So as of now, if you really look at it from the self-declared, in fact, one of the things that Election Commission has evolved is that candidates must declare their own background, their own criminal background, their own assets, their own education, qualification and all this. Of course, it took some fight that to declare these things by the candidates themselves. They were not willing to do that in the beginning. But then the Supreme Court has come into play and has helped the Election Commission that yes, they should declare and help the voter that who is the better candidate and all that. So in that process that we have all this information about the candidates, their criminal background, their wealth, their occupation, their origin, their residence, etc., etc. So looking at all these specifications, unfortunately, as a analyst of all these elections, I must also tell you my own personal experience from the very first election. I went by a bullock cart with my parents when they went to cast their first voting in the first election, 1951, nearby my village. We went, and on the way, another political party has attacked us. So that was a different. So I have been an observer in different forms, as a student, as a voter, as a researcher, as an analyst, in all the 17 elections, in one place or other in India. So from all these things I could say that I think there were some lessons that emerged out of it. But before that I must tell you that looking at it strictly, we are yet to evolve a representative form of government, truly. Because if I analyze the facts, they are given by the candidates themselves and what the political parties themselves have put out. From putting together, it comes out that instead of becoming we the people of India, it is now we the political parties. That is, political parties have amassed power to nominate the candidates and dictate the turn of events in the elections. In the process, few people amassed the power or representation rather than the people of India. So that's why my first dilemma is how we need to see that the people of India, we the people of India, are truly the decisive makers, not few parties or few leaders, as it has been over the years, over these elections, these 17 elections. That's the first dilemma. The second, of course, is in terms of the independent authority that we have evolved rightly and very wonderfully devised system, how independent it has been, what has been the track, independently and its own assessment to assert that independence, particularly from the incumbent government, whichever the party be. So this is one factor that has gone into the representativeness of the electoral process. The third is we have evolved the code of conduct, but how effective it has been? Has it been taken seriously, implemented? If you look at it, the facts don't give us very encouraging results. Now, similarly, if you see the contestants, the one thing that the Election Commission has not, Sukumar Sen has not envisioned was that he thought that everybody should have opportunity to contest an election.
Exactly.
Rightly so at that time point.
Right.
Because people need to be sensitized about the electoral process.
Right.
And he did that very rightly. But then over the years, everybody want to contest. So as a result, political parties have realized that this is one way of easily getting elected. That is by dividing voters, by having more candidates, more parties. Today, an average constituency has more than 15 candidates.
Wow, okay.
And then we have more than 100 political parties contesting elections. So, this plurality or multiplicity has diffused the representative character of representativeness of the people in forming the government.
But isn't that counterintuitive and logic? Because we want more represented, more diversity.
Yes.
So we want more numbers and we want more parties and candidates. And you're saying that is the reason why we don't have representation.
That is one of the reasons. There has to be for example, if somebody wants to contest an election, he has to be chosen by the people.
Right.
Before they go for the polling or voting.
Okay.
So that has not happened. Although the Election Commission did prescribe 10 voters have to endorse their
support.
Their filing their nomination. 10 voters have to say that we do propose this so and so as a candidate. But the 10 is not enough when the number is so big. Of a constituency, for example, a parliamentary constituency goes up to 8 lakhs of people.
Okay.
So, for 8 people, for 8 lakhs people is not a. So, similarly, residents. For example, if you say most people who have contested today, not in the beginning, not in the first election, not in the second election, the problem has started slowly. People moving out from their and contesting. Although the contest is for a tenure, one tenure, not the constitution does not prescribe how many tenures one can contest.
Okay.
So as a result, there are people who have been contesting 5 times, 6 times, 7 times. That is 30 years, 25 years, continuously, and in the process, they are moving away from their origin or from the constituency that they represent. Okay. So when you stay somewhere else.
How do you represent that?
How do you say that you represent that constituency? Then the other part which the candidates themselves have is their voting pattern in the house, in the parliament or assembly. If you see what I call conflict of interest, that is their priorities are not of those of the people of the constituency that they are elected for. So putting together all these, you can't say that we have a truly representative form of government.
Dr. Rao, you explained very well about how we have evolved our election system with the independent authority like the Election Commission of India. But as the system has evolved, so has the demographics of our nation changed. Quite a bit, in fact. We are the youngest nation in the world right now. But also, more importantly, the aspirations and the expectations from both governance and what a citizen wants in terms of quality of life or in terms of any other aspirations that they have for themselves and for the children have changed since the time we got an independence or adapted the constitution or evolved the system. How has this independent authority, the Election Commission of India, evolved itself or managing this challenge of the evolving, changing demographics of our nation and its aspirations as a republic?
Yes, today majority of the population, majority of the voters are below 30 age group. So that being the case, you can say very easily that not only the age group is demographics are different, but the aspirations also altogether different.
Right.
So obviously, and they're more educated.
Certainly.
So, of taking all this, we have only done change the voting age from 21 reduced to 18.
Yes.
This is one good thing that happened earlier, almost more than 25 years ago. But beyond that, we haven't done. Even the women only now the act has come in, but in reality it is not, doesn't get reflected. But that one could, there are many other things one could talk about. I will not go into all that. But the point is, have we evolved or adapted to this changing demographics and aspirations? This is a very important issue, that these 17 elections and the one we are going now in the next few months, that is 18 elections over the 75 years of the Republic. We have several lessons, including changeover, the shift in the demographics is most urgent compulsion. I will call it a compulsion, that we need to re-look into our methods and methodology of going into the electoral practices, so that we have a better representative form of government now. Before we reach 2050, our mission 2050, we have 25 years, which means 5 to 6 general elections we are going to have.
Yes.
Now, unless we now decide what are the changes that we need to adopt, we need to make to change over for a better representative form of government, we will not be able to reach by 2050 that goal of adopting a more representative form of government, and thereby we emerge as a brilliant and vibrant, not only as a democracy but as a republic, unique in the world. The representativeness of the people, there are certain dilemma that I was referring earlier to the question that you asked, Dr. Vasanthi, is there are certain fundamental things that have crept into the system, that unless we are able to identify, not only identify, but take in cognizance, we will not be able to get into what correctives need to be taken, which we will be talking in the next episode. But let me just identify most important ones that stand as a hurdle in the representativeness of the people. Number one, this dole-driven voting is one part of it. The second is the kind of campaigning, they become the battlegrounds, dividing voters rather than uniting people. See, the representative character is, let us come together to serve the people. That should be the spirit. What I mentioned in the beginning, that we the people of India implies that let us come together, collaborate and serve the people. That was the spirit. Instead of that, we have become divide. It is battlegrounds. People are quarreling,
fighting.
Candidates are quarreling, parties are quarreling, more rather than what the aspirations of the people are, or how to reflect their concerns, the people's concern. So unless that is brought back center of the whole exercise of electoral process, we will not be able to make any difference from the previous 17 elections to the next 5-6 elections. This is what. The other thing is, we need to do certain in terms of where from the money comes in these elections. If the money power, see, the representative character of the people come when they are involved in the electoral process.
Yes.
Today, they are not involved. For example, what is called crowdfunding. Crowdfunding means when you are contesting from a constituency, if those people in that constituency contribute to you, they will be more active. Today, voters and the citizens are passive. Why? Because they are not involved in the process. So somebody comes from outside or somewhere, some other profession, and party nominates him, they become the candidate, they won and they go, and they're no longer connected with the people of that. So instead of that, we need to disconnect the present system and bring back the people to the center. Yes. How do you do that? Unless we cut the money power that has crept into the system. Now, CMS has brought out earlier how every election the expenditure is multiplying. Now the latest figure is staggering, mind-boggling. 10 lakh crores is what India spends in all its elections.
Wow.
If that is the case, then how it could be representative of people? It would be representative of the money powers.
Absolutely.
Those who pay, they want the government to serve them, and that's what we need to reverse. That's what we need to change.
Thank you, Dr. Rao. You really threw up some mind-boggling dilemmas and concerns that affect the representativeness of the idea that we came up with on we the people that the Constitution stands for. The idea behind the republic being from the people, by the people, and for the people. The whole concept of elections and how we've evolved over the period of time does require much more discussion and understanding of the lessons learned till date and what further can we do to improve the representativeness of our republic. And we will talk about these in the next episode of this particular title, We the People. So with that, we thank today for joining us, and please do join us to learn a little bit more on what lessons and what practices can we adapt to make our nation much more representative of we the people in this whole series called Rejuvenating the Republic Mission 2050. Thank you.